Share, okay. Hello, welcome everyone. Today is Committed and Covered, all things marriage and family show podcast. So how are you all this evening? We have they're no longer guests. They're no longer guests.
Amen.
We have Rashid and Yvonne Taylor with us again. And of course, my handsome husband next to me. And so come on in, guys. I see you're coming in. I see your shout outs. Happy Sabbath. Hello. Come on in, Scott, Hillary. We always say PGAT, but PG at. So come on Cammy. In, guys. Cammy K. Hi, Cammy. Welcome. And so.
Yeah, that's right, Scott. PT and Mrs. PT. That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Back once again.
Yeah, so we're here again. And so our topic for this evening is understanding without agreement. Understanding without agreement. Why feeling understood matters more than being right. Why feeling understood matters more than being right. And so that's what we're gonna talk about this evening, guys. And I like this topic because if you've been married long enough,
mercy,
maybe not even long enough,
right.
But you should have, or probably still are experiencing this in reference to this topic. And so I always start out with an icebreaker, but I see we still have some fam coming in. Hi, Kim. Welcome, guys. So come on in. So we always open up with an icebreaker, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So for the icebreaker this evening, if someone made a movie about your marriage, what is one event you and your spouse would tell completely different? So I'm going to repeat it. If someone made a movie about your marriage, what is one event you and your spouse would tell completely differently?
Yeah, you know, I know exactly what I would say, but I'm gonna give you a chance to mull it over just a little bit.
About our marriage. What would you say? Go ahead.
You have something?
I think one minor major, because we don't want to start no fights, right?
That's right. No, this is we keeping it light.
Yeah, amen.
We not reopening.
Keep it festive.
We not reopening any cases. Okay, no cases.
All cases have been sealed and indictments have been thrown out. Amen.
Right.
But no, so yeah, I would probably say the who expressed love, genuine love first. Like that would probably be the one I think we would both disagree on. The how and the when. She says it was a secret, invisible ink writing of it, and I say that it was. I say that it happened over a Taco Bell receipt, you know, and I just simply shared out. I'm out here loving you.
You said genuine love on the Taco Bell receipt?
yeah. And so it was It's an ongoing disagreement of who said I love you first, or who committed to the other one, or initiated the commitment to a real relationship first. So I would say that one.
That's a good one.
You would agree with that?
All right.
Well, what would you say?
Honestly, I can't think of anything in terms of marriage, but when we were dating seriously and we knew we were headed to for marriage, we actually, I'm gonna say, we broke up for about 2-3 months, and how and why we never seemed to agree on that.
Yeah.
We never seemed to agree on how it happened and why it happened, right? But the good thing about it is we got back together.
That's right. That's the main thing.
You said how and why it happened.
Now, no cases. Remember, no cases.
No cases. Man. Yeah. So I'll leave that alone. Well, the question is, who broke up with whom?
Okay, so we're gonna leave it right there. We're gonna leave it right there.
No cases, right?
Right.
It got real quiet.
But the reason, the reason this question was posed is because this lets us know that we have different opinions about it, different perceptions about how, what, when, where, or whatever that case may be. And so with our topic tonight, since we're talking about understanding without agreement, why feeling understood matters more than being right, is because, again, if you have your opinion of how it went down or you have yours, we can't agree on that, right?
That's right.
So that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
All right.
But before, let's unpack, what does validation mean? What does validation mean to you all?
I think that I would say validation means your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas, your perspective is just as important as mine, whether I agree with it or not. So I treat it as if it's crucial. I treat it as if it's important. I treat it as if it's necessary for the conversation, for the relationship, right? Even though I may see it completely different, as you guys just pointed out. So I would say that validation looks like taking your partner's feelings, perspectives seriously, whether you agree with them or not.
Right. And guys, in our family in the chat, what does validation mean to you? Whether if you're in a marriage or if you are in a relationship and a partner. So come on, give us some feedback too. Again, as we always state, this is not a monologue, but it is a dialogue.
That's right.
I got one. And so, we're kind of sharing mics because my mic is not so friendly right now. But I look at validation like this. Like, we've all been in college before. And if your ID was not valid, you couldn't eat.
Oh, that's good.
You couldn't. There's a lot of things you couldn't do because your ID is invalid. I mean, you have an ID. Looks like it works. But it don't work.
It doesn't work.
Right.
Denied access.
So I have a marriage. It looks like a marriage, but it don't act like one. So
That's
you
good.
you want to be validated. You want to be valid. You want to be able to exercise the rights and privileges that's supposed to come with a marriage.
That's good. That's real good.
And I validate that.
But, well, validate me.
So I validate that. And to be heard, understood, and acknowledged. And yes, I totally agree with you, Yaya. And actually, that's what I was about to say. So thank you for saying that. For me, it means that when I come to you and I'm expressing how I feel, that you're giving me your undivided attention. You are receiving and you're hearing what I'm saying. And you're not trying to come up with a response to tell me I'm wrong or to defend yourself. But that you've truly heard what I've said to you and you're receiving it. And to me, when you receive what a person has said to you, there's no comeback for it. It's like, I received that. Thank you for sharing that with me. Even if you might not agree with it, like you said, like we've been saying, you might not agree with it, but you receive what I just said to you.
I got a question. So, like the parable, right? The two sons that were told to go out and work. One said, I'm going to do it. The other one said, I ain't doing it, right? So like, it's like one of those things, like what about those instances, like when we tell our spouses something, it doesn't seem like they acknowledge it, but it does affect change,
okay, it
Yeah. Have we ever been in that space? Like, we make a request, right? Doesn't seem like it's been acknowledged or even like validated, right? But we do see a change. I'm wondering, anybody out there, like, is it hard to look past that you feel like it wasn't heard, but eventually you start seeing some movement?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Even though the person may not have said, okay, Malcolm, I hear you, I understand you, but you're seeing change in the area that you're asking for. You're seeing an acknowledgement of the need, whether the person verbalized it or not. There, you're seeing tangible evidence of that. Oh, that's a good question.
So do you still feel understood then? Or do you still feel misunderstood?
Well, for me, if you don't acknowledge, if I come to you and you don't acknowledge it by not saying anything, for me, I'll feel like it's not being validated. Because even though you may start showing me, but why not say it to me so that I can know that in that instance, I can feel like, okay, you have received what I said. But if you just walk away without sharing that you received it, and I could still be in that moment of saying, he didn't get it because he didn't say anything. He hasn't verbalized it. He, responds.
So in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. It's there's the 5 love languages, but there's also the 5 languages of apology. And one of them is that I need to hear, I'm sorry, and I'm going to change. Somebody else may never need to hear it, but they definitely need to see change. And I think that's important to know about your partner. Like, okay, yeah, it's cool that you started doing the dishes, and it's cool that you started doing the laundry, but I'm sorry that I have ignored this need, or I'm sorry that I put this burden. Some people actually need that verbalization. And so I think it's very crucial for you to know the difference between, that's part of validation, right? Is knowing the difference between what your partner wants and just what you prefer.
And we actually did an episode on the 5 love languages of apology. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's true. For me, it's more so if you just say, I'm sorry, you don't have to go into A, B, C, D. Nicole, I'm sorry, and I'm good. I'm good. But others may want more of that apology.
Yeah, and even our online audience and us, like, what do you want more? And I never really thought about it like that. What do you want more? The change being made, or oh yeah, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, and they keep doing it. Yeah. I just wonder. Like, I'd never really thought about that, even for you, me, and us.
Well, PG at says being understood to me is being seen, being heard, and respected. Okay, and then she also said there's an offer that we had agreed to disagree, but now we have an understanding that we can agree to disagree. And then Hillary says not agreeing with everything or trying to fix the problem, but what you are hearing makes sense even when I see it differently. Okay. And then Melissa Hill says, agreed. I like the action, but the words are valid. Yeah. And basically that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The words validate to me that you have heard me and you receive it. And then the actions can follow.
Yeah, I need the action. I don't even need you to apologize. Just stop
we
doing
together, cuz.
just stop doing it or start doing it, whatever it is.
I'm good.
Yeah. I need to see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, go ahead.
No, I was like Nicole. I like the words too, because it starts that communication of it being valid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do.
So yeah,
it's kind of like, like especially for men, if you say I want more affection or more sex and all that, and the woman says, I don't know about that, but then you start seeing it, I'm good.
Exactly.
Validate me.
It's validate me day and night.
So
Exactly.
Yaya says acknowledgement is affirmative, shows conflict resolution skills and respect. Yes. And then PG Ad says, why can't you have both? Well, and that's going back to what you were mentioning about the apologies, the love languages of apology. Some person may need both. They may need that.
Right.
Yeah. But so in talking about validation, let's talk about what it is not. Okay, so we know it's not. It doesn't mean that you have to agree. It doesn't mean your memory is completely accurate because oftentimes, which we can talk about, you think that your memory is accurate about whatever the situation was that took place, and then also validation does not mean your conclusion is correct. And then it does not mean your behavior was acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's interesting about this is my husband will tell me, which the way you remember it is based on how you felt it, the situation. It may not be actually how it may not be how it actually
An actual
happened.
retelling. Yeah.
It may just be based on your how
Right.
you felt about it.
In that moment, right? Well, it's definitely so. When things happen in that moment, the first reaction is an emotional reaction. To me, I mean, that's just human nature. If your spouse says something that offended you or does something that offends you, in that moment, it's emotional. And that's when I feel that if we can try to catch that emotion first before we go into anything after that, then I believe we can focus more on looking past what really just happened. But first of all, we get defensive. We do. And because that's an emotion, we didn't like what was said or what was done.
Yeah.
So we have that emotion first. But what discussing? Okay, so Hillary says hasty generalization here. Men don't need the words, but ladies do. Okay, Scott. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Scott. Right. And Hillary says body language. That's very important because you can say one thing, but your body.
That's true.
Which I know I've had to work on. Definitely work on that facial expression. And then Real Kingdom Chick says it's not only what's comfortable for you, but also what creates a resolution and nurturing for your partner.
Wow.
Yes, yes. Which we're going to talk about that a little more.
I got a little bit of pushback. When you went down the thing, validation does not mean I agree. If a person doesn't agree with you, I mean, my validation meter is low, you know. But I'm just saying, I'm just speaking for somebody out there that I may have read in another chat. You know, like the agreement piece. You know, is I hear you enough? I'm asking. And this is not between Sister Taylor and I, but this is to help. This is to help people out there. Like, it is I hear you enough. You know, like Rashid, somebody says I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That invalidates.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Oh, you hear me?
Yeah. Is that all you do is hear me? Yeah.
But so men, tell me if I'm wrong. So you can just tell me if I'm wrong. So for you all, can I safely say if your spouse was to say you did not validate my feelings, for you all, if you can quantify it or if it's objective, like you yelled at me, you know, if somebody yells at you, you know that's factual, right?
Yes.
But for women, when we say, "Oh, you hurt my feelings," you may say, "No, I didn't hurt your feelings," because that's subjective. You can't really quantify that because we're just telling you in words.
Right.
So, am I right? Can I say that for you all, if it's subjective, it's hard for you to quantify that versus something that's factual that you can see? If your voice, you raise your voice and we say, "Oh, you just yelled at me."
Yeah, I think because we're talking about understanding, not necessarily agreeing, right? And so even in that, the subjectivity of that, it's hard for me to understand where you got hurt in this series of words. Which word hurt you? We did not do that. Which one of those words hurt you? And oftentimes it's especially just, I don't want to show too much of how the sausage is made, but a lot of times we are like, this is a fight because neither one of us want to say we don't really understand. You know what I mean? Like, we really like, no, I'm talking about this and you're talking about, and we really aren't having the same conversation, but neither one of us are humble enough in the moment to say, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I don't understand what you're, and so a lot of times we have to tell ourselves, let's just back up because we having two different conversations. So I think, yes, the subjectivity makes it hard to even understand what we're disagreeing on.
Yeah, because women, let me speak for me, we typically verbalize you hurt my feelings, or I didn't like how you said that. And
Right.
and then you, as men, you may say, well, I didn't say that the wrong way. I didn't do this. And that's subjective to you. But when you know for a fact that you did something, you can say, okay, I get that. But when we're coming from a subjective point of view, it seems like, to me, you all can't grasp that. That's basically what I'm saying.
That's limiting our understanding.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
but
limited.
what I was just saying though, on all your other validation ones, I feel it, right? But the first one though, validation does not mean I agree. I don't know. I'm just speaking. It seems like for we men, if we don't agree with what you guys are trying to be validated by, for, or whatever it is, that makes it even worse. Because if you say something, I feel this and I feel that, and I'm like, I hear you, but I don't agree. That's like gaslighting, putting little.
Okay, so Let's Be Encouraged says that hearing and listening are two different things.
By the way.
Right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Someone says attitude matters, which it does. And then Real Kingdom Chick says, based on tone, if no accompanying change is done, I hear you can also be translated. Stop talking about it. Right? So, but when we talk about the validation piece, and you're saying that that means it doesn't mean I agree. For me, what that means is, even though I don't agree, I'm looking past something deeper than what you're saying. So if I tell you that you hurt my feelings by something that you said, and you're like, well, what did I say? Tell me what it is. That to me is like, well, what is something deeper? What specifically
What
was
is
it?
this?
Look past that enough to receive what I'm saying that bothered me, instead of instantly getting defensive to say, I don't agree.
All right, Hillary, I hear you. You see what she said? I like that, Hillary. Go ahead.
Oh, Hillary says you don't have to agree to validate the emotion, right? Which you don't. You're just validating that you have received what your spouse is saying to you, how they are feeling.
Yeah.
That's all. And I think oftentimes for women, and
So I think y'all getting me a little bit wrong. What I'm saying, if I verbalize, I do not agree. That's gonna be a problem. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I hear the tenor of it. Like validation does not necessarily
Require
mean
agreement.
it doesn't require agreement.
But if I don't agree, it's some furniture moving.
but I believe, even in some of our disagreements before that in a way this has come up before, because it's like, you may feel like you did not, like, I don't agree with you, but at the same time, it's, I hear you.
I'm gonna
And
remember that,
sometimes
write it
we
down, and
don't,
take a picture. I'll be like, you said it.
but I don't think that it's always verbalized like that.
Right.
And I think that the whole topic is about, sometimes couples, they are wanting their spouse to say, I agree. And you don't have to agree with every emotion.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Don't push back on that.
Can I don't agree? Because we talked about this, and she's 100% correct. I do say you're listening with your emotions, so you're hearing hurt. Right, and so it's like once you've hit your head, the sound is distorted. Right, there's this ringing, there's all stuff going on. So it's the same thing. So can I don't agree come across in the heat of the moment as that's a lie, that's untrue, or you're wrong? Right, and so I think that's kind of what Malcolm was leaning to, is that even if we say I don't agree, it can be translated in the heat of the moment that you're wrong.
Yes.
You're telling, you're lying, or that's not true, right? And so
it can trigger. It can trigger
Absolutely
it can trigger reactions. It can trigger more emotions, and then what happens is one or both starts getting louder, starts pointing the finger, fact checking, and then another thing is you start bringing in another topic that has nothing to do with what you're actually the initial conflict started. And when you start bringing
no resolution.
you don't bring, when you bring in other things outside of that, the past or whatever, now you arguing about 3 to 4 different things. And then you actually forget what
was the root of this issue.
And the reason why I'm kind of hitting that nail with the hammer so much is because I don't want to give the audience, like we were saying, or we have said, oh, you ain't got to agree for it to be validated.
Right.
Because some people need some type of, the ear needs to be bent a little bit and make me feel like what I'm saying is validated. Not that I'm, delusional or crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, conflict, we all know that conflict shows up in relationships and definitely in a marriage. And it can be very frustrating. And sometimes you can feel that, or you might be in a season where it seems like this is the season where we just having conflict, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I got this energy today,
Yep. Yep.
And we all have gone through a season where it's been conflict and then you get into a better season. But, it's more so to me looking at the deeper picture of what your spouse maybe has not said, but they're trying to say. And so,
hello, Donovan, and let's hear.
Yes, welcome, Donovan. Hillary
Hillary
says, dismissed is difficult to accept, so it's important to clarify. That was not my intention, and I hear how you received it. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Scott says, bringing up old business.
We handled that last business meeting, didn't we, Scott? We talked about that last board meeting, right? Yeah, we
Ain't no step of validation on that.
Right.
Oh, we doing this again.
We doing this again.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah, stick to the topic. But that is conflict 101, 100. You've gone to marriage conferences, they all say stick to
the topic.
Stick to that topic. Don't bring in outside things.
Yeah.
Or you used to do this, or you always do this, because now you're in a conflict spiral and it's going to go downhill.
Yeah.
Right.
But Let's Be Encouraged says, and please let us get away from saying happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
It should be happy spouse, happy house when
Yeah.
agreeing to disagree. Yes, thank you for that. And then Eric says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This can apply to relationships as well. Seek to understand.
Not just be understood. Amen.
That's right. But typically, and if we're being honest, we're not seeking to understand. We're seeking to get our point across.
That's right.
Because
That's
we get defensive
Right.
because our spouse
Right.
is saying something about us,
Right.
and we want to defend instead of saying, let me really look at what my spouse is saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some common conflict patterns. Like, if a spouse says, I feel ignored, right? And then spouse B said, but I wasn't ignoring you. And then the partner A may hear you saying, what they are actually hearing is you're saying your feelings do not matter. And then so that means but a connecting spouse is, I wasn't trying to ignore you, okay, but I can understand why it felt that way. So it's the response, and I think we've touched on this a little bit. It's the response, and sometimes this response does not require just admitting an intention that was not there. It's just acknowledging the spouse's experience that they're having in that moment.
Yeah.
What did I do in this moment that made you feel that way? That it doesn't take a lot of energy or effort to ask that question, right? Because that's what you're really trying to get down to.
It lowers the defense.
It
lowers the defense.
That's right. You're really trying to get to what is the issue that hurt your spouse because they matter. Yeah, that's good.
And to be honest too, I have to catch myself to,
When?
like you want to get defensive. You instantly
Right.
want to get
Right.
defensive. But I have really actively started saying to myself, okay, what is the deeper issue? What is it? Tell me what are you really trying to say or you're feeling in this moment?
Yeah.
And to me, that does soften. It softens the defense.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned in the chat the tone, how you ask that. Like, instead of me saying, what are you trying to say? What's the deeper? I can say, hey, babe, just throw the word babe in there.
Yeah.
What are you really trying to say to me? Or even if I put my hand on his shoulder or back to let
You
him.
put it on my neck. What does that mean?
Silly. But, it just softens. It softens.
Yes.
It does.
And I think one key thing, y'all in the same boat we are, when you start to have adult children, you realize I can't talk to them like I've talked to them most of their life.
Right.
And so you start to develop these muscles because you have to navigate, especially if y'all still share close proximity or still live in the same house. You have to develop these muscles where you had to start to have conversations that are more fruitful on both sides of it. And then you look at, you be like, well, hold on, I should have been using this with my spouse all along instead of
Then skip the spouse and went to the children.
It went to the children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we developed these muscles. And I joke around, I'm like, now you jump on me, but the baby, our kids are 25 and 27, by the way. And so I'm like, well, when you talk to the children, you don't come with all that attitude and you don't come with all that huss, but it is. And so we both start pointing each other out, like, okay, there's a way that we talk to our adult children. Let's use that same courtesy, that same respect, that same consideration in tone, in our body language and all of that, because we want to make sure that the other person feels appreciated and understood.
Right, and that definitely makes sense. And look, practicing with our children, we should be practice with our spouses so that it rolls over.
It trickles down.
It trickles down with our children.
Exactly.
But PG at says, can't say all men, all women. Men have feelings too.
Come on.
I want peace in my home, not compliance. If married partners are to serve one another, as the Bible suggests, we must take our mate's issues to heart. And that's the key.
Good, PG.
I like that. And that is the key, because at the end of the day, we are one. We are supposed to be one. We are a unit, and we should move as a unit. And we have to be able to understand when our spouses point out something that we've done. It's our perception.
Yeah.
And it's our perception all day. But just receive it, you know?
Yep. That's a key word, receive it. I will admit that I struggle with receiving, especially when you don't agree, right? And it's what Dr. Frazier's called a recurring issue, I believe. Is something that you've had this conversation several times. You be like, look, I'm never going to agree with this. So I need to just learn how to receive the issue, receive the emotions attached to the issue, and just listen.
And then too, we something that we don't always think about too, that feelings provide important information about a person's experiences.
Yes.
But they do not always sometimes provide a complete, accurate account of what happened, but for the most part, you have to look at your spouse's experience.
Yeah.
100%.
Because
that shaped who we living with, right?
Yeah, because feelings are real, but feelings are not always facts. Because if I'm not mistaken, Rasheed, you brought up where you asked Yvonne, is this a feeling or emotion that you're remembering? Because the facts aren't correct.
They don't line up with the actual retelling of the event, but she's retelling from the perspective of what she felt in the moment,
right?
And that's colored everything else from that, from the conversation.
Hillary says, sometimes I have to pursue. We need to talk about this now. Okay. And sometimes depends on the couple.
It to talk right now. You can turn my
volume. That's a good question.
So is that what you're saying? You're telling that person that you want to talk right now, Hillary?
Yeah.
So just clarify that for us, because sometimes it needs to be a moment where you take a break. Definitely, if it's too heated, where you stop, and the person that says, hey, we need to stop for a minute. Walk away and come back, it should be the person that brings it up.
That's a hard thing, like when you want to be heard and you're demanding it, and the person you're speaking to says, well, can we put a pause to it? That sometimes that's adding fuel to the fire. Like, see, I'm not being heard. They even want to stop.
But sometimes, for me, sometimes I need to just stop and just be quiet for a minute, just so I can be in my own thoughts and really go over everything in that moment, so that we're really just processing, so that I can come back with a better communication with you.
And that's true. For me, sometimes I have to process, not just with him. It could be with somebody at the job. Before I respond, before I say the wrong thing, I have to process it so I can get my thoughts together, so that I can come back in a better Christian manner, with my words. And that's okay if you have to process it.
It's funny to be like, how Vaughn said you got to process it. You said you have to process it. You are hot. You are like how Nicole says, 38 hot. And then like, can you give me time? I need to process it. Let's say it's at night and y'all laying in the bed. 5 minutes later, they're snoring. You're like, oh, that ain't process.
That's process.
You unplug the computer.
I mean, knocked out, sleep. Yeah. Like, oh, now you process it. It's almost like you would take your foot and push them out of there.
Exactly.
Process that.
You gotta sleep on it.
But I remember
Process this floor.
If I can recall correctly, I remember the Frasers did a marriage conference, and they said that why stay up and talk about something all night long when you both are tired, and one spouse get mad at the other because they're asleep.
That's when you're in agreement, though. But if a person said, "Let me process this,"
but no,
they go to sleep.
this is not an agreement because, like you said, you always have one that really wants to go to sleep and just talk about it because when you're tired, the devil just brings in more and more. So just say, hey, if the spouse is sleepy, go ahead and go to sleep, and you wake up and you talk about it.
Especially if it's not going anywhere. You just going round and round and round.
That's
and
not
round.
being heard, Vaughn. Ooh, y'all women are surprising me today. She said, especially if it ain't going nowhere.
Because that happens.
All right,
It does happen.
It does.
But there is this part where there's sometimes, and y'all know this, you're just like a day like today, where you're running all over.
Yes.
And then you finally, you don't even get to slow down and talk to your person until that time. And this is something you've been holding since 9:30. And you're like, well, I'm not going to talk about it at church because we got this.
That's true.
I'm not going to talk about it on the way home because we got the kids with us. I'm not going to talk about it because we got to go do the podcast. But now it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and you've been holding this all day. It's hard to relax and go to sleep when you're like, okay, I've been waiting for the intimate moment for us to discuss. You're like, well, let's discuss this another time. I need to process.
You're gone.
I think that's what's hard. And I think if we're honest, when we have the need to talk and the other person is not ready, and she used a good word, stonewalling. I think that's a malicious tactic. But I think more so what we're referring to is like, okay, I need to process this. But why waste a good night's sleep? I know. Is that what I'm hearing you ladies say? Why waste a good night's sleep if we're not gonna reach this resolution tonight?
Well, I think from what I am hearing my sister Yvonne say is that if you guys are going back and forth, if a couple is going back and forth, not coming up with any resolution to it, let's just stop. It doesn't make sense. And stopping means if it's early in the morning, maybe later on that evening,
on tonight.
or if it's happening late at night, or and you're tired, let's just approach this the next day. So that's how I took it. Not to say that let's stop and we don't come back to it about 20 hours later.
Okay.
Give a moment. Give a little time.
Scott, what does Scott say? Look.
Scott says some disagreements need to be acted on immediately, but not every disagreement is a matter for cavalry. You have to pick your battles, and some things you have to decide if you can live with or not, which is true. Yeah.
All right, Scott, who wins? You or Tanya? Tell the truth. Who wins?
Tanya. And then PG says, take some time and pray first, then come together, pray together, and play, then work on the issue. Right. That's good. And I do agree with that too, because it's amazing though when you humble yourself and pray together in that moment. It's amazing how the Lord just really softens your heart, because you want to be mad. You especially if you are the one that's feeling on the defense. You want to be angry and upset, but when you pray together, it's God makes a way.
That's right. That's right.
And so Chantel says, I think it's okay to table it if it's mutually agreed upon, as long as no one is going to bed upset. Well, that is true. Mutually agreed. But if I'm keeping it real, somebody is going to bed upset. Yeah. Not saying it's in anger or you want to, what my nephew said, fight out. But somebody's just not gonna be pleased.
Somebody's not getting that release that they wanted. That relief.
Not gonna be happy about it.
Right. So also in talking about this, we've also mentioned that when you remember it differently, how couples may remember the same event, but you remember it differently, because those different memories do not automatically mean someone is lying, though. Because, we can like, oh, you lying? That's not how it went. And when you're like, no, this is how it went. But, having that stress and emotions and expectations from previous experience and perspectives can influence what each person notices and remembers. And like you said, Yvonne, in that moment, you're feeling what you felt was from the emotions of it, of whatever Rashid did that upset you. That's what, and oftentimes that's what we do.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that's what we do. So when you remember it differently,
Scott told the truth and shamed the devil. He said Tanya wins. Even Sister J said Tanya.
Right. So what does validation? What does validation sound like? What can it sound like? So, for example, instead of saying,
for me, it sounds like this: "You are always right, Malcolm. I am so sorry. You're the king."
I don't know why I did not see that before.
Yeah. Please forgive me, Master.
See, that sounds robotic. That sounds robotic, and it definitely sounds not sincere.
I feel real doubt validated. Now, what shall I do to make you happy? Anything you ask for. More than 3 wishes.
No. But what validation can sound like, guys, though, seriously, like instead of you're overreacting, you can say something like, I can see why that upset you.
Yeah.
You know, these are just some responses that, you know, if you're in these situations, like instead of saying that doesn't make sense. Now, you know, when someone says something like that, we talked about, that's tone. And that can come across as condescending too, right? So you don't want to say that doesn't make sense. You want to say something like, help me understand.
I know already. Like for you, what would help you feel validated in the moment, right? Full eye contact.
Yes.
Right? Shaking of head, okay, I'm hearing you. And then a repeat. So you're telling me you need this or that.
Yes, that is validation for me.
And I'm coming out of my dream space, Sister J.
Undivided attention while we're talking. You know, I mean, really, like no cell phones, nothing.
Oh yeah, I'm big on that.
Me too.
Big on that.
I'm big on that.
Yeah. Don't keep playing the game. Don't.
Because I can multitask.
Don't get,
I'm getting it all.
And she'll say, "Nah, I'm listening." I'm like, "Now the shoe's on the other foot," and I'm clicking that remote while you going. You would not feel heard and understand. Yeah, so I am big on that too.
It's on and
Put the
popping.
phone down just for a minute. I promise.
What was it? Pastor Cal said at the marriage retreat. Chantel Kim, if y'all can remember. I think it was his wife Wendy said, "Let's have a."
Well, you said phones are the devil.
I think she called it a heart to heart, and that is the key words to if we're having a heart to heart. Everything else is put aside.
Yeah.
No distractions. Just you and I. We're talking about whatever this issue is.
Yeah.
So, Priscilla says, "What advice can you give to those approaching marriage?" Priscilla, what we're talking about tonight. Because this is definitely something that happens in marriages from the beginning. We've been married 28 years and we're still working on it.
And I'll tell you this, it happens while you're dating too. So like even while you're dating, I mean, we tend to be hyper vigilant and we'll validate almost anything, but you still see the beginnings of it even while you're dating, especially if you date long enough. I mean, you date for 2 weeks, you're asking for it.
Yeah.
But if you've dated months into years, plural, you know if they validate you or not. And if they're going to be healthy in that, meaning when I say healthy, willing to try to meet your needs as well as you meeting theirs. So that would be the advice I give you. Keep your eyes open, be willing to tell yourself the truth and see the warning signs or even the signs of, okay, this could be a great match for me.
Yeah, I think and what Nicole says, and even especially what Malcolm reinforced about what specifically Nicole needs for validation. If I'm listening correctly, if I'm hearing correctly, I heard you say those are invaluable, indispensable tools and work in every situation. But there's something that we've had to come to an agreement is don't talk to other people about it until you resolved it between yourselves. Because once you start letting people into this space, it's no longer a you and I conversation. It's a we conversation or an us conversation. And their influence can sway the way you relate to your person, even though you haven't had maybe even the issue that person is now bringing. So make sure you've resolved it with somebody else, or make sure you've worked it out between yourself enough before you share it with the world, because it can be weaponized against you. It just can't.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's definitely something early in marriage that, you know, when you're younger, you have done and you see that what that can bring about. but definitely from other marriage retreats and conferences that we've attended, as we stated, reiterating, is this what you're saying? This is what I'm hearing, so that if when you repeat it back to the person, your partner or spouse, they can confirm, no, that's not what I'm saying, or yes, that is. And that way you know which way to go from there, because you've repeated back what you thought you were hearing, and they'll affirm it or, deny, no, that's not what I'm saying. Let's Be Encouraged says, oh, absolutely. The only time it stops when it comes to growing in the marriage is when the spouse is no longer living.
That's right.
There's always room for improvement. Definitely. Always room for improvement. And so we were talking about some feelings are real, but feelings are not always factual. So would you all say, if I feel abandoned, does that necessarily mean my spouse has abandoned me? Would you say that's objective or subjective?
Subjective.
Yeah. But if your spouse yells or get loud at you, would you say that's
Subjective or
subjective,
objective?
objective?
What would you say?
You asking some questions where it's case by case, to be honest.
But either you yelled or you didn't.
But you could.
Oh, you specifically. No, I didn't like that you yelled at me. That's what you're.
Basically, if your spouse yelled, that's something.
I would say objective.
Me too. That's objective because you either did
Volume
it,
is volume. Yeah.
or you did it.
In the sermon today, even Snell said his voice was loud, just loud, and G was like, "Look, you're yelling at me." He's like, "I'm just talking how I talk in my camp," and she did set the boundary of the volume in his voice. But I mean, for some people, when you get intense, you get intense.
Yeah, but even with that, the volume of your voice, it depends on, are we talking about something funny and your voice going up, or are we in a serious, heated, maybe discussion about an issue and your voice is going up? To me, those are two different things.
Yeah. Okay.
And it can feel differently, especially if you come from a background of yelling in the household.
Right.
You grow up with yelling parents, and so
that's true.
The way you feel in that moment may take you back to that time period.
Yeah, so. You do. Yeah, you have to either break the cycle or you're right. Yeah. If you grow up like that.
And I think for us, Malcolm and myself, nearly our entire family is loud.
Yes,
and we might just be playing dominoes. We might be playing whatever it is. It's the volume is there. So I think the tricky part for us navigating that is that everybody is not comfortable with that volume, and it may come across as yelling. Even though I know I would tell her this early on. In my body, I'm not yelling.
Yeah, no.
I'm just talking. I know what it feels like when I'm yelling, and I'm not there yet, right? But for her receiving, because we talked about receiving early, in her receiving, the volume was too high. Yeah. The volume was too loud. It was coming across aggressive, not just assertive. And so I that's why I end up saying it objective, because the person I'm speaking to really is the one that determines if they're being yelled at.
Yes,
right.
And
Unfortunately,
particularly in that moment too, because you Taylors are loud, but for me, but I'm saying, but for me, marrying into the family, there's a difference in loud when we're playing games and when we're having a serious conversation.
Yeah.
So when your tone goes up, I'm like, hey, you need to check your tone, check your tone, bring it down, and of course, like,
you're about to catch these hands.
I'm not being loud. I'm not getting. Yes, you are. Let's keep it here. So tone. And we've heard this a lot too in marriage conference. Tone is everything. And Hillary says, I shut down when you start yelling. Yes, me too. I shut down when I feel like your voice is going up or you're talking rough. I'm gone. And then Chantel says, Troy and I both come from loud families. This has always been an issue for us. Two loud people. Two loud people, yes. Yeah. And Let's Be Encouraged says it's passion with the language in comparison to being downright nasty with the volume. Yes, it is. Thank you so much. So we love these comments, guys. And so we're getting close to ending. And so some things that I do want to bring up is validation does not require agreeing with every conclusion, taking blame for everything, and accepting unhealthy or disrespectful behavior, or ignoring truth or facts, or giving in to manipulation, and also pretending your spouse is right when you genuinely disagree. Because we've all done it. Where you say I agree, but in your mind you're like,
She dead wrong.
Yeah.
Dead wrong. Yeah.
So, but it's just, for healthy conflict, we have to be able to understand first, then discuss second.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need to try to address. And Kim says that can kill the mood quick. And I'm quite sure you're talking about tone. Yes, about tone. So yes.
Yeah, because she said tone is everything right above that. Yeah.
And then too, guys, when we are with our spouses and we are having this disagreement on whether or not our feelings need to be validated or we agree, we have to make sure that we're creating some understanding in terms of what made that hurt you so deeply. Like, what made that hurt you so deeply? What did you need from me in that moment? Because sometimes we just don't know. And we know when our spouses are telling us what made, why you feel that way. And when you express that to them, then they can see it possibly from a different perspective. And then what were you telling yourself when that happened? And these are, again, questions to create for understanding. What emotions came up for you? What would have helped you to feel supported? Right? Did I misunderstand something? Or help me see through your eyes?
Yeah.
So these are questions that, guys, instead of getting upset and allowing Satan to escalate whatever it is that you're discussing, these are some questions to help understand where your spouse is coming from in a loving and kind way. Because again, that's what we want to be able to do. Okay, before we close out, we got some key takeaways, guys. Okay.
Validation is understanding, not agreement. Your spouse can honor your feelings without confirming this is key, every interpretation. Feelings deserve compassion, even when your perspectives differ. And you can disagree about facts and still care about your spouse's emotional experience. Curiosity builds connection. Defensiveness often creates distance. And finally, the goal of healthy conflict is not to force validation, but to pursue mutual understanding.
Right. Yeah. And I like that one about curiosity builds connection. Defensiveness often creates distance, because to me, it's one of those things when you are sincerely expressing to your spouse how you feel and they get defensive. It just shuts you down.
It does.
It shuts you down to where you don't want to say what you're saying.
Yeah. And if it lands the wrong way, it can create so many other fights internally and externally, that like we had an argument very early on. I think we might not have been married 30 days. And I just told her, because like I said, the marriage was young. Nobody's going to tell me who my friends be. You're not going to come in here and just pick my friends. And what I said was exactly that, verbatim. But what she heard is, your opinion of who's around us doesn't matter. And so she interpreted that, and she held on to that for a long time. And I never found out till years later that that's how she saw the beginning of our marriage, right? Like, well, I don't care who you want around us. It's who I say. And so it can really, unless we're really seeking to understand first and to be understood second, then we could really be creating potential landmines that we're going to have to walk through time and time again. Because we didn't consider the person that we're talking to.
Yeah, and that's very important. And I'm glad that's a nice example to share with others that are listening. And Hillary says, I'm sensitive to you are overreacting. Ooh, that's I know, Hillary. And then Let's Be Encouraged says, before the live ends, I see hearing as hearing the sound when someone is talking in comparison to listening. You take in the words that someone is saying to the other. Yes. And then another comment is, after God, your spouse is your most important relationship you're in on the same team in holy matrimony.
That's right.
Yes. And then also the golden rule applies to marriage. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Yes. And so closing thought, guys, thank you so much for the comments that you've shared and your experiences and your and what you know. We appreciate it as well, because here we're just sharing what we know and may have experienced in our marriages, and not only from that, but also going to different marriage ministries
Yeah.
and listening to those before us who've been married, who has been married for years, and passing down their wisdom as well. But validating our spouse isn't about always agreeing. That's what we call forced energy, right? But that will only cause things to escalate instead of connecting. And so what we want is not about who is right or who is wrong or good or bad, but what we want to say, it's about understanding your spouse on a deeper level and receiving what they're saying. Again, you don't have to agree, but you're listening so that you can say, hey, I validate. This is what you're saying to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was good.
And so any closing thoughts after that one?
No, I like what you have there. I may see it differently, but I care enough to understand what this was like for you. I think
Yeah, that's
Yes.
powerful.
I think if we learn that early, remember that often, and rehearse it daily, we get to a huge bridge of understanding that I know I don't see it the same way with you, but I am deeply interested and invested in how you actually see it. I think that can really build a bridge of understanding.
That's deep.
And so, guys, if we had any singles or soon-to-be married couples, we hope that this episode will give you some encouragement or hope or wisdom and guidance in your relationships. And so we'll see you guys next month on the 15th.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
And thank you, Let's Be Encouraged, and Melissa
Yes.
for giving us the thank you, and Chantel and our friends and family, which all of you guys are. But see you next time. Hey, we love you.
Share this and
Yes.
like it.